organic vegetable farm here in Lambton County. I'm pretty excited to show you guys my farm. I did the math this morning. We've been at this farm for 86 days. So we just got here. So just a fair warning that the farm is in the phase of setting up. So you may look around and be like, it's kind of messy here, but have some grace because we've only been here for a very short period of time. I've been in organic farming. This is the start of my 9th growing season. After 1 year of studying under an organic farmer, I started in British Columbia, and after 1 year of studying under a farmer, I was like, I want to do this myself. So we took the plunge, and my wife and I started Aslan Organics out in British Columbia. We left in December of 2019 because we kind of got pushed out of the housing market there. And then March 2020 is a familiar time for all of us. And when we left BC, we said, we're never doing this again. So then we came to Sarnia because we're both from Michigan, and we wanted to go to Canada. So we are permanent residents by this point, so we came just across the border. We had no plan, we had no house, we had no jobs. And so we moved for the pandemic, and then an opportunity to start our farm again was presented to us in March of 2021. So we took a year off in there, and we started Aslan Organics. And so we actually started 4 kilometers. If you kept going down Michigan line, you would have ran into my old farm down there. So last summer, July of 2024, we bought this property, but we didn't want to interrupt our growing season. As you'll see, moving a farm is a lot of work, and there's a lot of moving parts, and crops don't like to, you just can't uproot them, right? So anyhow, yeah, so we're just working on the farm today. You'll see our crew. We're out in the field picking food for market. We go to the Sarnia Farmers Market every Wednesday, every Saturday. We're there all the time, so you can find us there. Anyhow, and if it's okay with everybody, we have a photographer here today, and we can talk a little bit more about the farm and what we got going on here. So, any questions before we?
This was organic already?
I'm sorry?
This was organic already?
It was not. But the area that we are farming was in pasture for 25 years and unkept. So we are going for certification on that ground. But last year, in the purchase agreement, we negotiated the permission to farm it. And I don't know if you guys recall last July, we got like crazy rains. So we actually got 7 inches of rain, which is 2.5 times 7. So that's 15 centimeters of rain, which is like crazy amounts of rain. And we were growing crops here, and it drowned all of our crops. So we had a major setback. So the silver lining is that we learned we had to tile our land. So last year was like a washout, and I had to put some money into the land. So this year, with all the rain, it's actually, I'm thankful that we had that event last year because we're in pretty good shape this year because our land is draining. And yeah, many of you may not even know what tile is, but it's something that goes in the ground to get the water. So anyhow, yeah. So we're just going to walk up the center aisle. I'm excited to share my farm with you. I'm a very passionate food grower. I care very much about food. I think it's an absolutely essential component of our lives. We eat 3 meals a day, and Canada's food system is very, very vulnerable, as we saw with everything that happened with all the tariffs and stuff. Not only are other industries vulnerable, but our food sector specifically is extremely vulnerable. I read a statistic the other day that 95% of our greens, which is what we focus on our farm, come from the U.S. So one of the things that we're trying to achieve with our farm here is we're trying to grow greens year-round. So we greens currently from like March until Christmas, so until December. But our dream and our goal for this year is to have greens all through the season. And that's what we think makes us a critical component to Lambton County, because if you've never had fresh greens, it's an experience. You taste the difference. The quality of the product holds up in your fridge. Like, people buy our greens at market, they put it in their fridge, and they come back the next week and they're like, my greens didn't go bad. I was able to eat them all. So yeah, there's some other elements of our farm that I think are pretty unique. We work with Community Living in town. Community Living is a nonprofit organization that helps those with disabilities secure work. So we have multiple employees with them this summer. We've also worked with Inn of the Good Shepherd. We've donated. We've been here for. Sorry, just a minute. We've worked with Inn of the Good Shepherd. We've donated more than $35,000 in produce to them in the 4 years that we've been farming in Lambton County. So that may not sound like a lot, but our farm is pretty small scale, so it's actually a pretty significant contribution. We're just really excited. We're forming a lot more partnerships with a lot of local restaurants in town, and we're trying to start working with like local grocery stores too. We just want to get our food into more people's hands, because again, we're just really passionate about it, and we feel it's really important that people have access to a local food system. So that's the gist, I would say. If there are no questions, so this is a 50-acre property. The question was how many acres we have. So this is a 50-acre property, and we have currently about 1.5 acres under cultivation, and we will probably turn $300,000 in gross revenue off just 1.5 acres. So the typical farming acreage, you can expect to earn, if you're doing a good job, between $20,000, I think, an acre is pretty good. Yeah, so
we just need
okay, yeah, so 14, 1500. Okay, yeah. So we're turning 100,000 per acre in terms of like gross revenue. So, but we also are farming intensity. We put like 3 rotations of crops in a bed. So it's pretty intense, it's pretty fast paced, and we have pretty specific systems, as you'll see as we go forward. Yeah. This is my wife Emma, who's just calling me.
Hi. I was literally calling to say the tour bus is here. So.
I was on Twitter.
Yeah, that's why I just think you looked you.
So yeah, let's just go for a walk. If you see anything, if you have any questions, just shout it out. And oh, okay, cool. What is our gross? So our gross per acreage is around 100,000. So our costs are around 300,000. That was sarcasm, but people hear that number and they're often impressed. Let's walk and talk because we don't have a lot of time here. People often hear that number and think, wow, you must make a ton of money selling vegetables, but that's not the truth. The cost, often our margins are under double digits usually, especially during setup. We're just truthfully bleeding money like crazy right now because it's very expensive. So when we arrived at the property, this entire barn, you couldn't see it. It was wrapped in rogue trees. So part of the first steps of getting to this property was to clear out the buildings. That building that you see behind you there too, same thing, you couldn't see it. It was all black walnuts completely around the entire buildings. So we brought in an excavator and we pulled down all the trees because, as you can see, buildings like this, historic buildings, they do not last if you let them go to the wind. into the weather. So our first step was to put boards on the barn because it was missing quite a bit. And then we painted the barn last fall. And you can see it's a beautiful structure. We think it was built in the 1880s, 1890s. And it still looks like that. They rebuilt it in 1927. They made it larger, and but the original structure is part of the rebuild. So they took the old barn down and built a new barn back.
The dairy barn, was it?
Yes. So this used to be a Jersey cow farm. They would hand milk 35 Jersey cows every day, twice a day. So I have an office in that little building, and there's a cistern made out of cement built into the floor. So I put a floor over it, and I just put my desk on it. So it's actually hollow underneath. So last fall when we got the property, again, this was a field that was just full of trees. And last fall we erected the structures after we got the tile in. So that's another thing that's kind of unique about what we've done at the farm here is we have done as much of the work that we have skill in. So we've constructed all of these buildings as we sort of set up. That's why they are also incomplete, but we will get there eventually. This is our tomato house. So you can see the tomatoes growing here. So that's one of our main crops is people, who doesn't love a fresh tomato, right? So lots of cherry tomatoes in there. You'll see peppers on the outside and the tomatoes growing up through the center. What? No, they get along. So over here, the mounds of dirt, if you could see over there, we dug a pond this spring. So we worked with. Yeah. Do you want to tell the
Sure, I'll talk on the microphone. Yeah, so we were able to get a grant through Ontario Soil and Crop for a rainwater retention pond to help mitigate the effects of drought and that. So we're collecting all the rainwater now off the barn. You can see the big Canadian eaves troughs that are coming down off the barn, and they all feed into the tile. This whole market garden area too feeds into tile that all feeds into the pond. So if we were to go through a really dry period, we could pump the rainwater back out of the pond and irrigate our crops with it. So each of our field blocks is 100 by 100. So this total area is roughly 4 or 5 acres of space, but we're only cultivating about 1.5 acres in actual crop beds. So if we look off to your right, my left, you'll see there's a whole bunch of different kinds of beets in here. And if we look a little closer to you guys there, those are carrots. And you see the black plastic that's over there. We use that because we're organic and we cannot spray for, we cannot use chemicals in order to do weed mitigation. We use a lot of plastic. So I don't love that, but that is how we keep our weeds at bay, because every farmer has to deal with weeds, and that's our way of dealing with them. Everything else we have to weed by hand. So we can't go in and spray our crops because it would kill them all. Yeah, so from here you can see our crew out here. They're harvesting radishes right now, and we'll pick 100 bunches of radishes and take them to market on Saturday. Everything that we bring to market is picked within 48 hours of getting to market. So that freshness is kind of our upper hand to anybody else, because we are able to bring the freshest food to market. So we grow all kinds of crops here. any sort of vegetable that you can think of, we probably grow it. There's certain vegetables we can't grow. We can grow ginger, but we don't grow ginger. It's more of a much warmer climate crop. But everything that we can grow, we try to grow, or we have tried. Some things we cut out just because it makes more sense to grow those with mechanical equipment. Just because we're in the starting stages of our farm, we do not have a lot of equipment. So we've always farmed on a really small scale, so all of our tools are hand tools. So every vegetable that at least goes through our system is all done by hand. Yeah, so where our friend JR is, there's garlic over there. Where you see the snow fencing is a bunch of sugar snap peas. And one of the things that we have to do is keep things on rotation. So I have beets here, but then I have another rotation of beets at the back. So that's how we stay competitive in the market too. And that's the challenge of being a small scale farmer, is you have to always have product. People come to your booth and they want your product, and if you don't have it, you will lose that customer. So we always have things on rotation. So we have a rotation of beets here, we have another rotation of beets there, and we'll plant another one in another week or so. But that's, yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so the thing that we grow the most of, and that we that really like pays our bills, I would say, is our salad, and that gets planted every single week. So just talking about crop rotation and succession planting, that's one that's often done, is lettuce.
How do you put back into the vegetable growing space? Do you use other crops to?
So the question is, how do we give back to the land? Because we're taking so much because of the intensive cropping. It's a very good question. So we actually make our own compost. So every fall we put out to the whole community, bring us your leaves. So I'm sure you guys are aware you have to pay to drop your leaves off in town. We take them for free. Leaf mulch is one of the best things, and we'll make a pile about as big as that covered greenhouse, but it will turn into a pile about half of the smaller greenhouse behind you, that one. So it really shrinks down. And then we also, yeah, I'm not gonna say that part, but we take our coffee grounds from Blackwater Coffee, and we partner with other coffee shops because we can't contribute, we have so little waste, we can't contribute enough, they call that green matter, to our compost, that we also take compost. But keep that to yourselves, because I don't know if that's okay. So, but we do take compost because that's what builds the soil. But we also do, you'll see Emma has diligently planted in this space a cover crop, which we have conventional crops at the back, and sadly our farmer didn't know that that was planted in cover crop and tilled it right after it was planted, so that's why it looks kind of crummy. It should look like it was up there. He didn't till that. And then the white flowers is also a cover crop. So we'll take all of that plant matter, we'll mow it down, and we'll turn it back into the soil, and that's how we get some of our organic matter into it. We also have some like organic, we call them amendments. So it's, is he gonna back off?
I think he's just turning the
Is
bus
he on the
around.
road though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That does not look like the road, does it?
It looks, yeah, it looks like the bridge.
It looks like the bridge. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, so we also have what we call organic amendments. So we put something called pelleted hen manure, alfalfa meal. You don't need to remember those, but they're also organic occurring things that we put back into the soil to feed the soil, because we do take a lot of demand from the soil. But there's intentional cover cropping put into our farm plan in order to, yes, contribute back to the soil so that we're not always taking. And yes, there are other times where we leave the land intentionally fallow. So like that's what you see in the white flowers at the back. That land currently is intentionally fallow, and that'll be really rich land the following year.
You should explain what you mean by fallow.
Fallow, yeah, that's a common farming term. Fallow means like you don't farm it, you just leave it. You just let it rest. You let the land go wild. You don't go in there. You don't cultivate. You don't mow. You just let the land be at rest, and the following year you come back to.
And with a competitive product or crop like that,
that's
keep
right.
The weeds down. And so on.
Yep. Yeah. So the cover crop. One of the benefits of cover crop is not only to contribute what we call organic matter, that's like the plant matter to the soil, but also it keeps the weeds out of the soil. So one of the I guess the pillars of our practice is that we never want to leave land barren, open. Because like look at this ground. This ground is the exact same ground as right there, but because there's nothing in it, it looks terrible. It's hard. If you were to stick your fingers in that soil, you could stick your fingers into the soil. This you would have a hard time getting a shovel in. So one of the practices we have, we never leave land open. So that land, it was done with production, and we covered it because we didn't want to leave it open.
For erosion.
Erosion, you'll lose organic matter just through the air. The sun will take it off. But yeah.
Being organic, how do you deal with pest and disease issues? Are you planting any sort of banker plants, or how do you manage that?
This is also a great question. The question was, how do we manage pests and disease? Those are two separate categories. So disease, we rotate our crops. So I have beets and carrots here. If I were to put beets and carrots there a second time, right behind it, I would have major problems. So we won't plant beets or carrots in this area. We won't replicate those plantings for at least 3 years. Some crops like alliums, so that's garlic, onions, those types of crops, I cannot follow it in the same spot for 7 years. So there's a lot of intentionality with what we do, and we have to pay really close attention to those things, because as soon as we start skipping those steps, we run into a lot of disease problems. Pests, second question, great question. So this is something that we're passionate about. We're trying to, as we set up this farm and design this farm, you can see there's a hedgerow here that runs, that's our property line. Our second property line are those walnuts out in the field. But we've planted a similar hedge here because we're trying to create and to develop an ecosystem. So that's a really fancy way of saying creating a lot of diversity of animals, of insects, of like frogs and snakes. And I know lots of people are scared of those things, but birds, these things come and they feast on the pests that come into our vegetables and are problematic to us. So the more like different things, the more diversity that we can have on our farm, the less pest pressure that we have. We always have pest pressure, and we can't really do a whole lot about it because we don't use chemicals, but we are intentionally designing this farm with a great range of diversity. I have not. I was hoping.
Okay, so another big factor in what Shane was just talking about that we are doing here is that we've been partnering with other organizations to bring in a lot of those things. So we partner with St. Clair Conservation Authority and another organization called Ontario Nativescapes to put in a wetland, Cow Creek. If you're familiar with Cow Creek, it's a creek here. It basically does a big S across our farm, way at the back. Like if you look at the tree line, way back there. And it always floods. And then speaking with the previous owner, they wouldn't be able to harvest from there. Maybe every 3 years they would get hay off of it because it was constantly flooding and full of mud, and the creek would always swell up there. Yeah, and wreck the crops with mud. So we thought this area shouldn't even be farmed. It's a big, what am I trying to say, like a low spot, it should be a wetland essentially. So
It's a creek flats.
it's a creek flats, yeah. So so we partnered with Ontario Nativescapes. They came in and put in 2 ponds way back there, and a sediment trap to, when the creek overflows, that it first goes through the sediment trap and then feeds into these ponds. And then they planted tallgrass prairie, native tallgrass prairie all around it. And then St. Clair actually, the Conservation Authority just came through 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and planted multiple rows of native shrubs and hardwoods and evergreens. So yeah, it was like 880 some trees that they put in. And so yeah, so that we're trying to heal that space back there because it's been over farmed and eroded, and it's full of really nasty invasives, and we're trying to help it out. Plus, because that will help our farm out, right? Like if we can bring in more of all the birds and all, like what Shane was saying, we deal with less problems ourselves as organic farmers.
Great question.
Yeah, so I know you guys got to keep moving. So again, thank you for coming to our farm. We're at the Sarnia Farmers Market year-round. So even when we run out of our own products, which does happen, we partner with an organic vegetable farm that's in New Hamburg, which is up by Kitchener. And it's called Fennings Organics. So in the winter, when we start running out of our own food, we've been passionately local since before the tariffs. Like that was like the lifeblood of our farm. So we've been passionately local, and we get food from Ontario as long as we can, and we prioritize food from Canada. So yeah. But yeah, thank you for coming to visit. I know it's a way different scale than what you just saw at Park Farms, and it's a totally different operation from what you'll see when, are you still going to the ethanol plant?
Yes.
Yes, so it's a totally different type of operation than what you'll discover at the ethanol plant, but we feel like we are a critical component of Lambton County, and like our food systems are vulnerable, and our ask to you guys is to spread the word about like a farm like ours, and also come find us at the Sarnia Farmers Market. You'll be blown away, I promise you, by the quality of our food. So thank you very much.